In this video, we're going to look at the most common interview questions that are asked in the B1 and B2 visa interviews, and we're going to look at some great answers that will help you land the visa that you're looking for. And to start with, we're going to look at why people fail the interviews. And I've got a couple of things. First thing is that people come unprepared. They'll say things like, I just want to see some sites, but won't know exactly what the sites are or what they're actually going to look for. And that makes you sound very uncredible and unbelievable. Next, dishonest. The constant thing that we see is that people write something on a form, but then they state something different in an interview, and that destroys your credibility, totally destroys your credibility. You have to know exactly what you've got in the form, and you do not deviate from that ever. Next thing people struggle with is they've got no evidence. So they'll say things like, I don't pay my salary into my account or pay tax. Well, how do we believe that you've got enough money if it's sort of floating in cash somewhere unquantified and you've got no evidence to back it up? So you're failing the funding requirements. Basic knowledge can also be missing. For example, people won't know if their sponsor is married or not. And well, that is a serious red flag. So you have to know the details about your sponsor. And worst of all is they will become not convinced that you will return. So people might say, I plan to work with my brother. Well, if you're planning to set up in work with an income in the USA, that suggests that you're not likely to return, that you're actually going to set up and live there permanently. It's a visitor visa. You're supposed to return. You need to show evidence that you're very likely to return. Next up, top 3 things you need to prepare. You need to prepare funding and income proof. You have to show that you've got enough money and you're definitely not going to run out. You need to show that you've got good understanding of your inviter. You've got all the fundamental details. And most important, the number one thing you've got to prepare is ties to your home country. You have to show that there are compelling reasons why you're definitely going to return at the end of your visa. So funding and income, 3 things you need to do. You need to show a bank account with plenty cash, so there's loads of money in there, you're not going to run out. Continuing employment, and I've underlined the word continuing. You want to show that there is cash going to be coming in throughout your trip, and that when you return, there's a job for you to go back to. If you can show that, you're showing that you've got cash flow to support you and you've got a reason to return. And to strongly evidence all of this, if you've got a budget and you say, this is what I'm going to spend, this is how much money I have, this is how much money I've got coming in, and you put all those 3 things together, you've got a really compelling answer, and that's going to show I'm not going to run out of money. Next up, you need to show your inviter's details. You need to know all of these things. If you don't know certain of these things, it's really going to tank your chances of getting the visa. So you need to show that you've got their full address and contact details. You ought to know knowledge of their marital status and employment. That shows you know their background. Explain how you know them. If they're a relation, that's very simple. Otherwise, you want to talk about how you met them, when you first got to know them, and tell them that whole narrative. You want to explain why they're visiting them, and a great thing you can do is you can get a letter of invitation from the inviter where they'll actually spell it out for you. Moving on, ties to the home country, and I've given you a nice list. So if you can tick off as many of these as possible, you make your answers very good. So if you can show several of these, that is a compelling argument as to why you're going to return and you're going to follow the requirements of the visa. So pause the video if you need to have a look over these and check off as many as possible as you can and provide evidence for them. So let's move on and look at the key questions. So I'm going to look at the questions that are asked and show you how to plan fantastic answers. So what is the purpose of your travel? And there's a simple formula that you can use to really nail this question. So you'll have evidence to back up your reason and a clear plan. So you'll say, I'm going to visit my grandmother. Here's evidence of my grandmother's visa status. And here's a letter of invitation from my grandmother explaining all the reasons why I'm going to visit her. So you can combine a clear, reasonable, believable plan with good, strong evidence. That's going to give you a good answer to this question. Next one, how are you going to assure me that you will return? So this touches on the previous one. And to get a good answer to this, you want to note down as many as possible and provide them with compelling evidence. So for example, if you've got a wife, husband in your home country, you want to have a marriage certificate showing that you have a marriage to them. If you've got a family home, show that you've got ownership of that. You might want to show that you've got no family in the USA, so that might be part of the reason why you would not stay there. Continuing employment is one of the best. A return flight is also good evidence, but there is the risk if you book it and then don't get your visa, that's a waste of money. So it's a slightly high risk strategy. And then on the other side, I've got some more ideas that you can follow through. So tick off as many as possible and provide great evidence, and that will give them the assurance they're looking for. Next question, how long will you be staying in the USA? So you need to have a compelling reason for the length. If you're going for 6 months, you need to explain why, or if you're going for 1 week, you have to have a different reason. You have to have planned your return. So I plan to return on this date. If you've got return flights, that's great. It's not required, but it's the strongest evidence you've got for a return. And most importantly, don't lie. Never in visa applications ever tell a lie, because it can come back and bite you very hard. Next up, have you been denied a visa earlier? And this is a very clever question that they ask. And the most important thing to remember is they can check that. And this is one way that they can catch out someone lying. So if you say, no, I've never been denied a visa, but this is the 4th time you've applied for a visit visa with 3 refusals, that is going to massively tank your credibility and is going to get you in a lot of problems. Next one, what is the status of your sponsor in terms of their visa? So you need to know this. So ask what it is, and it has to obviously be longer than your trip. If you're planning to visit for 2 months and their visa runs out in 3 weeks, well, that's going to be a problem. So you need to make sure that the visa status of the person sponsoring you is 1, known, and 2, is longer than your trip. Last question, how will you support yourself in the UK? And there's 3 things that I think are great evidence. First thing is a bank statement. Show them how much money you've got. If you've got loads of money, well, you can support yourself quite easily. So a bank statement is really great evidence. Pay slips and continuing employment. So show your most recent pay that you've got, and a letter or some evidence that that income is going to continue during your visit is really strong evidence. And lastly, a support letter can be quite good. So, for example, if you're staying with family, a letter that says you can stay in my accommodation free of charge is good evidence for that, because it shows that your financial requirements are so much lower because you're not going to have to pay for accommodation. So if you've not got so much money, but you've got this offer of support, that helps to reduce what you need to demonstrate. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you, and best of luck in applying for your visa. Thank you very much for watching.